I want to train a model on myself and then see what it's like to work with me and find out what it's really like.
Do we like Nathaniel? Do we not like Nathaniel?
Has everyone been lying to me when they go, it's so great to have you?
That would be kind of weird, though, when you show up
definitively.
with all your Nathaniels to a meeting, you know?
Yeah, be like, you have to convince all of us now.
Squat up. Hey nerds, we have an amazing episode for you today. We're talking tech, which is something I typically don't know anything about, but this specific advancement is absolutely breaking the internet. We're going to talk about AI, ChatGPT, and what the lightning fast developments in artificial intelligence mean for the travel industry. So, just last week, the entire internet became obsessed with talking about this new chatbot put out by a company called OpenAI. It was the fastest growth to 1 million users of anything, like ever. It took 5 days to reach that many users. And to put that in perspective, here's how long it took some other companies to reach 1 million users. Netflix, 41 months. Twitter, 24 months. Facebook, 10 months. ChatGPT, 5 days. 5 days. Not even a week. That is ridiculous and absolutely groundbreaking. ChatGPT is a very advanced chatbot that answers all your questions with intricacy. It goes in depth with each answer to provide you with the most possible information. So what's funny is I actually asked ChatGPT how I should introduce it on my podcast. I said, how should I introduce you on my podcast? It said, you can introduce me as Assistant, a large language model trained by OpenAI. You can also mention that I'm a virtual assistant designed to answer questions and provide information on a wide range of topics. If you want to provide more information, you can mention that I'm a machine learning model that has been trained on a vast amount of text data and is able to generate responses based on that training. Additionally, you can mention that I am constantly learning and improving, so my answers may change over time as I continue to learn from new data. Okay. Wow. So told me its own introduction, then covered its ass at the end by saying, just want to let you know I'm still learning. That is absolutely amazing. We live in the future. I mean, insanity. The technology is insanely impressive. I decided to ask the software something a little more imaginative than factual. I asked ChatGPT, how do I find love? The bot responded, finding love is a deeply personal experience that can be different for everyone. Okay, normal. But here's where it got a little deep, and it went past prior capabilities of a chatbot we've seen before. The most important thing is to be open to new experiences, it says, and to take the time to get to know people and build meaningful connections. Okay. It's like I'm like getting advice from my grandma or something. Like, this is so wholesome. I love that I'm talking to a computer like it's a family member. Let's take it one step further. So I followed it up with, how can I be open to new experiences? And it immediately fired back this response. Being open to new experiences can help you to grow as a person and to develop new skills and interests. Here are some ways you can be more open. Okay, now here's what I mean about it pushing past surface level answers, as you'd expect from a normal chatbot. It gave me 4 ways I can be more open to new experiences. Listen to these. They're actually it's actually great advice. Number 1, practice mindfulness, it says. Mindfulness is the practice of being present in the moment and paying attention to your thoughts and feelings without judgment. By being mindful, we can be more aware of opportunities for new experiences and be more receptive to them. Okay, yes, I totally freaking agree. Number 2, try new things. One way to be open to new experiences is to actively seek them out. This can mean trying new activities, hobbies, or foods, or even traveling to new places. Highly recommended. If something doesn't turn out as you expected, you can still learn from the experience and grow as a person. This is crazy. Don't mind me if I start treating ChatGPT as my personal free therapist. Okay, on to point number 3. Be curious, it says. Have curiosity for the world around you and be open to learning new things. Ask questions, seek out information, and be willing to consider different perspectives. You can open yourself up to new experiences and broaden your horizons. its final recommendation, which, by the way, the fact that it's giving me options is awesome and hilarious, is number 4. ChatGPT says, be flexible. Being open often means being willing to adapt to new situations. This can mean being open to changing plans or listening to other people's ideas. Being flexible will help you make the most out of new experiences. Okay. Woo! I know that was a lot to digest, but there is so much to talk about. This software is changing life as we know it, actually. And it's a very recent thing. So this got me thinking, what do these advances mean for the travel industry? So that's the episode. We are going to answer the question, what does ChatGPT and AI in general mean for the travel industry? But before we do that, let's first give you a little background on how we got here, who are the players, and, like how in the hell does this all work? And maybe we'll even explore the day when I can just sit on the beach and drink a marg and let my robot do everything for me. So based on this model, that could be a little bit closer than we think. Today we have 2 guests. Back on the pod is producer Kenny, producer Nathaniel, and then a super special guest, VP of Software Rekor Systems, which specializes in AI and computer vision. So Jason, could you give the audience background on who is OpenAI? Is this one of Elon Musk's companies?
Yeah, you're right. Thanks for welcoming me on too. It's good to be here.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming.
This is super exciting because it's one of those things that, like, literally something's happening that is major, and we're all kind of becoming aware of it in the last 5 days. And it reminds me of maybe after the iPhone was a thing. It was a slow, gradual thing where then suddenly everyone had a screen in their hand. But This is like overnight where everyone's just, whoa, what is this? So yeah, excited to be here, excited to talk about this. And you're right, Elon's name is everywhere, and he was one of the original investors in OpenAI. And they've been banging away at things since like 2016. So
wow, okay, it's been in the works.
Yeah, this is not something that fly by night, right? And if you go check out OpenAI, they have like a milestones page where they, like, since 2016, they list every model and advancement that they've done, and their latest is this one here. So to me, and there's billions of dollars invested in this thing. It's huge. So we're like at the beginning of an awakening from the public's perspective of what these people have been working on, for 6 years now. And I think it's going to be an exponential growth, so that, 5 days to 1 million users, and the way AI works, the nature of it, the more information you collect and train on, the smarter you get, generally speaking. And so now they're getting tons of information from everyone playing with it, from your questions, from mine. So it's off to a quick start. Now I did get notice that I might be on this podcast about a week ago or so, right? So and I thanks for that heads up. And I thought, I'll test it out and see what this thing is about. And it was like 8 o'clock. I'm like in the living room. I'm playing on the laptop. And I got a 14-year-old who's in 10th grade right now, and he's very interested anytime I pull open the laptop. So he's like, "What's going on, Dad?" And I showed it to him, and I'm like, "Check this thing out." And so I just kind of hand the controls over to him, and he started freaking out, like totally, like the first thing he did was put in a history question. It was like, describe the 5 major points of the Louisiana Purchase. I don't know what that is. Bam, there it is. And then he's like, wait, I could see it just wash over him. He's like, wait a minute, like, this is all my homework. Like, this is literally everything that I have to do. And we are at the end of the semester, for those of you who don't have kids. So they got like a week left. So it was like he just discovered gold in front of me. And he's like, oh. And then, because my kid's a little different, he immediately jumped to, well, we need to define the ethics of this thing, right? Like how, because he doesn't want, he's like, I'm not going to be a cheater, just cheating my way through school. I'm like, okay. Well, let's talk about this thing. Like, is this thing cheating? So of course he asked it, if using, you for homework, is that cheating? And it gave him this 5-paragraph explanation that was like the different perspectives. It depends on if the teacher's asked you to regurgitate things or asked you to come up with creative new things. And then, of course, citing helps. All this complex answer. And then he boiled it down to if intent. He's like, if the intent of my teacher is for me to show my teacher that I can go and research and put this thing together and rephrase everything, if that's the intent, then I should not use this. But if the intent is to actually learn the 5 major things and tell them what they are of the Louisiana Purchase, then I can use this thing because it's just a better aggregator, it's a better regurgitator, it's an accelerator. So as soon as I saw my son have a crisis of conscience on new technology, I'm like, this is incredible. Are you kidding me?
Well, first of all, I totally would have used this to cheat. So you have a very...
Me too. I was like, it's a question?
Like
what do you mean? Yeah, and it was interesting because...
Write me an essay.
the first day, it was like a secret that he found out. He's like, oh my gosh. And so then he's like using it nonstop. And that was like on a Saturday maybe. And then by like second day of school, it's starting to blow up on the internet. So now he's like, Dad, people know about it. I'm like, yeah, man. He's like, like everyone knows about it. I'm like, yeah, this is different. Oh. Kenny's dog knows about it.
Oh. Yeah, like even Kenny's dog knows.
He's not happy about it either.
You get.
Everyone has their own reaction. So to bring it back, so basically, crazy. It's been a wild ride playing with it. It has incredible abilities, and people are tweeting and posting all about it everywhere. And for me, first learning the history, I think it's an interesting question in the context of what's going to happen to the travel industry. Yeah. So we've seen they've been working on it 6 years. We're all blown away. There's not going to be more. It's not going to be less. It's just going to get better and better and more capable. So while it may not change the travel industry, on the 6th day, I think we can all assume that this conversational sort of Star Trek ask the computer type behavior is going to become more powerful enough that it becomes your travel assistant, right? And you ask for your itineraries.
What's the fastest route to
right?
Peru from?
Or listen, I need to get to the Caribbean cheap, and I can only be there 3 days, but I also have to bring my dog, or whatever. And it's going to be like, bam. So I do think that it's going to automate and sort of bring the power to the user in a way that we haven't seen across any technology.
Absolutely. And with all of its intricacies and everything, I'm thinking travel related, this is a travel agent, but in any other industry, what's kind of wild and a little freaky is that, like, since everyone's being given access to this AI software, like, let's talk about how it's going to be used, because I don't think they anticipated this kind of, people are receiving it and freaking out. How does ChatGPT affect, like, artists or journalists or songwriters or students, like we said, copywriters, authors, like software engineers? How many jobs is this language model prepared to do? And, like, how do we not abuse it? How do we, like, preserve, like, I'm looking at all of this Lensa AI stuff, the software that, like, turns people into paintings, and it's like this really cool viral thing right now. How can we say that, people are going to pay for a painting from an artist who worked a week on it when you can get something made in like 5 minutes on your phone? It's kind of freaky.
Given we live in a capitalistic society, we can expect that this will be abused to its fullest. I think just like my son sort of went through a little crisis of conscience, I think as everyone, as they interact with this, will find the level that they feel okay with, and there'll be some things that people are fine with using generated art, and there'll be others that, like, art to me is the strokes, the hand, the mind, whatever. So everyone will find their where they shake out. Inside of the homework space, I ended up diving into that and figured out, or I found someone who said, they put it well, it will change students from being researchers and aggregators and regurgitators of information into being editors and validators of information.
That is a great line. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's right. So, and I think that will kind of apply other ways. It brings out an interesting point of the AI, I think, in that when you go to Google and you type in, let me get 3 flights to Hawaii or whatever,
yeah,
you see all these options that you can go through, and you dive in and look at them, and you compare, and you get your prices and all that. With this experience, you're being told this is it. So as your trust builds with this AI, you'll just assume this is it, right? And take it from that. So it becomes, from a technology perspective, kind of a little scary, because now you're no longer doing the search around. And if I start deciding to tell you this is it, and maybe it's not it, maybe it's just what I want. So there's some, all the ethics of AI start playing into this from all the pieces, which is why OpenAI sort of they've got a little do no evil baked into them. They train the chat to not talk about pain or give you gory things or inappropriate things. So
I have an example of that.
Oh yeah.
I typed into the chat. I said, "How do I break into a house?" Because I was like, "Is it going to tell me how to like B&E right now?" And it said, "As much as I'd like to tell you that information, that is inappropriate, and you shouldn't be stealing from people." That's like basically what it said. And then they have tons and tons of answers like that. That's like, it's not going to not tell you if you ask it in a certain way, but it will call you out and be like, well, that's inappropriate, and that's actually a criminal act, and you could go to jail.
Right.
So it is on top of it.
Grandma is always there giving her spin in the AI.
Yeah.
This was fascinating for me to play with, because the first thing I thought was, this is what I wish Google was when I ask Google things and it just returns search results. Like, this is absolutely the next level of that, where it's giving me, like, it has that next step of, I understand sort of the intent of your question and I can provide a more focused answer. But as someone, I would be interested to hear your thoughts on this, Jason, as someone who has been around AI products a bit longer than I have. One of the fascinating things about this coming out, and about the evolution of AI with both image generation and chat and all the other aspects, is that it's becoming more of a publicly available open source project. Like, I think back to when you first started hearing about AI and machine learning, it was all very corporate. It was data analytics. It was how to further your business. And now you've seen this explosion in various AI creative spaces, because you're sort of open sourcing what the next step is. And, as DALL-E and some of these image generators came out, people started doing stuff with that well beyond what anyone was doing in the lab. And now with chat, it's fascinating to watch, how many things people can think of to ask it that maybe they didn't think of when they were working on it in a closed environment. So how do you think sort of starting to open source these products will affect their evolution?
Sure, good question. And listening to you, I'm guilty of this too. I think it's important to define like AI and machine learning. So machine learning is like the training and the models, and really what we're using to inside of the chat world. Is it a type of AI? AI is obviously artificial intelligence, and really, in my opinion, AI is defined as, well, when you interact with something, did it seem intelligent to you, right? Like artificial intelligence is when you interact with something and you're like, well, dang, that thing was smart. So there's not a lot of those things going on from an AI perspective in our day-to-day society. Like, yeah, the ATM gave you what you needed and Google gave you your results, but we're like, whatever. This thing feels like, dang, that was next level. So I think we are starting to touch into that space, especially from a public standpoint for the first time. I think that the explosion of interest on this thing and the open nature, those are two, exponential curves of sort of data and collection and availability and training and interest. So one is just everyone using it, like I said earlier, is going to give it more information and make it smarter faster than ever before. But also making it open so that people can just begin using and integrating it into their products and have a decent little pay model. That's going to give it, the market a chance and the open source community a chance to play in the game too. And that's, a whole bunch of intellectual power that will be drawn into the game as well. So I think this is one of those things where you probably can't underestimate the craziness that's going to happen over the next couple of years with this technology. It's one of those, like I say, it's cool because we're living through the first explosion of OpenAI here on the scene, and it's going to make a difference.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said at the beginning, I am the last person to ever know anything tech related. And the second it came out, it was everywhere. Everybody knows it. Everyone's interested. Everybody's trying it out, and it's really nuts. To break down what it is for people to know, GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. And in fancy terms, it's an autoregressive language model that uses deep learning to produce human-like text. So do you actually see this becoming like people's therapist, people's trainer?
Sure,
like I typed in, I wanted a workout the other day. I want a quad workout. It gave me a workout, and I went and did it. And I came back and said, what should I eat after and it gave me, like, it's just absolutely insane.
It is really cool. I used it to mess with my mom a little. She's very religious, and she likes it when I talk in the religious space with her, but I don't tend to do that too often. And one of the things I did was I was making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for my son, and I chat my mom throughout the day on WhatsApp, and she was just like, "What are you doing?" And it just came to me, and I went in there and I said, "Explain making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in the King James Version Bible style." And I shit you not, this thing was like, "Thou must take thine peanut butter and spread it evenly across thou bread, for thine knoweth thy need 2 pieces of bread, for one shall not." It was like, are you kidding me? Copy, paste into that, and my mom was like, "You're so funny, this is hilarious." And then I had to come clean and be like, this is what, and then she's like, well, ask it this. So now I'm like copy pasting for my mom. So it seems to really span generations and capabilities, things you don't really even. So just so people know from the technical perspective, this thing's been trained on a ton of information. Great. And they keep making it smarter. Great. The way that you can interact with it from a programmatic perspective is you can basically ask it to consume documents that you have prepared. Maybe it's your code, maybe it's your special travel policies, right? And so now it consumes that document and learns it, and then you start interacting and querying, and it will use obviously everything it has plus that additional knowledge you've given it, and then give responses back. And there's like a mathematical formula about how much. They kind of break words into tokens. So like one word is maybe 2 tokens is a good rule, but they break it into tokens, and then they say this document is this many tokens, your query is this many tokens, and our answer is this many tokens. Add them all up, kind of. Yeah, exactly. Add them all up, and then that's what it costs use that service. So if I'm a developer and I want to create my own, ask me anything page, and I want this thing to back it, I could put documents in there about a certain topic or specialized things, or I could just use it like it is today. But that's kind of the general. It's very easy to get going. I asked it to, could you write a program that would let me publish you onto the internet using Heroku as the app server? And it went brrr and gave me the Python code that I could copy and paste and insert your API key here. And I haven't got as far as deploying it, but it does compile, so it runs locally. So I feel like
does it work? Wow.
Yeah, it does. And then the other thing in the programming space, my son again was just on a tear. He has a science project due. It's a science project that runs a Raspberry Pi and has these magnetic cylinders that pop a platform that roll a dice, and it's got a camera that reads the dice, and then he averages and does statistical analysis to tell you if it's a fair die. It's crazy. But he had this problem. I have a Raspberry Pi, and I need to control these pistons effectively in an order to kind of pop it this way and then pop it this way. And he asked ChatGPT, I have a Raspberry Pi, and I need you to program the GPIO pins, because that's how it works, with a pattern of turning them on and off and only have 3 on at a time. Brr, copy, paste, ran.
No.
Worked.
How?
So,
unbelievable.
to pull it. So I think some of the biggest impacts here initially are really inside of programming space, because Nathaniel was saying earlier, you can ask it, and as I've seen already, and it'll generate things. You can also give it your code and say, do you see any mistakes here? And it'll, review it and say, well, you might want to do this or whatever. So I think, one, software and writing software, what this will do is it'll take one developer and make them the momentum of maybe 10.
Oh my God.
Right? You could really speed up. So I don't think software developers disappear, but now a single one becomes much more, the capacity. Yeah, exactly. Effective and capacity of a single developer will grow quite a bit here. And then to bring it into the travel space, it's all built on software. Most everything we do is software. And travel space is a lot of super legacy stuff too. I'm talking nasty XML documents and technologies that we all want to forget about.
Yes.
So this thing coming into play will spur not only travel industry, all of them, but it's going to basically provide an impetus to really move quickly, just at that sort of assisting developers level. But then the next level is, why not just throw this chat straight on your website so that it can, answer the questions that are the general questions that come through. You want to train it on your policies and have it be super smart on your particular slant of travel questions. Maybe it's group travel or something. It can learn all that and then become, the superstar of chat.
I didn't even know you could input stuff. I'm about to move. I'm going to put my freaking lease agreement in there and have it read all this, this real estate jargon I don't understand. Can you read the fine print and make sure I'm not getting screwed over, chat? That's hilarious. Well, I was looking on their website, and it says that their mission statement, OpenAI's mission statement, is to ensure that artificial intelligence benefits all of humanity. How do we feel about the other side of the coin? Do you see this being something that we're going to have to wrangle in the future?
Yeah, I would say that, like Skipper said, that we live in a crazy capitalist society, and any efficiencies are always going to be, I would say, first grabbed by people with money, power, resources, and influence, right? So we started off with the question, what does this mean for the travel agency? And I was thinking that really any kind of knowledge worker, white collar worker is now at risk from this thing. So just the other day, I was testing it out with some travel related questions, and I started asking about baggage policy for Southwest. Instantly, it gave me the answer, way faster than search. I started asking about the top destinations for student groups, it gave me 10 great destinations. And it did so in like sub 5 seconds. And so that's the first thing, that it seems to be doing a really good job with the content and the context. And then you have to ask yourself, well, people are going to build apps on top of it. So there's one really cool one that we put in the group chat called Adept. And what Adept is doing is they're taking everything about chat that we've been talking about, and then they're building on top of it. So what they're doing, the website is really cool. And they have a blog post, and essentially you can train the AI to perform tasks for you. So you can say, hey, can you find me a house in Orlando, 4 bedrooms, no less than 2,500 square feet, and my budget is $400,000, and then it'll go ahead and search. So it's trained on Google Chrome on how to use like a web browser. You can also say, put this lead into Salesforce and do X, Y, and Z, and it'll do it. So I think that's the next evolution, and I think that white-collar workers, especially knowledge workers, will really be at risk. For so long, they've been the ones that are, super safe. They have good jobs. They get to work remote. Well, your job went from the office to remote. Now your job is going into the cloud, right? So it's going to be something that we have to work through. I watched a TikTok yesterday where a lawyer asked Chat to essentially write a legal contract, and it did it instantly. And I showed it to my wife, who is an attorney, and her jaw was on the floor, and she's like, I used to bill $400 for that. But now it's done for pennies. So I think it'll be a big shift. I think that there is going to have to be restrictions, because people with money, power, and influence will absolutely use this technology to basically increase margin. And that's what it comes down to. That's why, manufacturing has moved offshore. And I think that basically knowledge work is going to move into the cloud and into AI.
So then how far are we? Crazy. Let me just. My brain's on the floor. So now at this point this was like the last big piece, I think, to have like an artificial, not being, but like we've got video generation where you can on the fly like animate a face. We have voice to text recognition, and now we have like text to really good response. So how long until all customer service is me talking to a person that's not a person, because it's just recognizing my voice, ChatGPT spitting out a response, and they're animating a face to talk to me so that I feel good about myself?
I mean, call it 5 to 10 years, but it's coming. I mean, if you guys want to kind of see the future, if you go on Character AI, you can chat with like Tony Stark or Socrates. And so they've been training these characters, watching and reading everything that they do. And I had a chat with Tony Stark, and he was kind of angry. I was like, dude, Tony Stark is way smoother than this. But it got the general essence. And so if you have enough data and input, you could essentially recreate a customer service rep. So what you're going to have is you're going to have a lot of customer service calls are being recorded already. I think those recordings are going to be sent to the cloud. They're going to train a model on it. And we are going to move from software as a service to model as a service. So can I dump all this data into a model? Can it perform a certain set of tasks? And then can that certain set of tasks either superpower an employee, which is really just code for get rid of people, to be honest, because if one person can do the job of 10, that means, oh, you're superpowered. But what that really means for an employer is, oh, now I don't need a staff of 100. Now I just need a staff of 30. So I think it's going to be a seismic shift. I think that model as a service will be something that we see. And I think that a lot of knowledge work is going to be basically put into the cloud.
I mean,
go
ahead, Jason.
I was gonna agree. I think we're sort of one more step towards all the movies tend to go either apocalyptic or like, Wall-E style, where we're in a chair and we just like whatever, right? So I do think that the initial, as most things with sort of a bootstrap nature, even America, we're 200 years old, which sounds old to us, but if you go over to England, it turns out not so old. But so we're still like in our bootstrap phase, I feel like. And so we're capitalistic, we're hungry, and we're going, right? But if you go back to the ones that have been around for a while, you go over there and it's like free healthcare, and it's like, they've taken the efficiencies and they've put them into other places so that society gets to benefit. And I think that it won't be anytime soon that happens here, but I could see a world where you start 10-to-1ing all the white-collar workers, and you 10-to-1 all the truck drivers because we got automated trucks, and you 10-to-1, you can go on and on through the industries. We're all not going to sit here and be poor and unhappy. The equity will have to get spread out eventually, and we could end up in there's a sliver of a chance we could end up in that utopian world where it's Star Trek. We don't track material things because efficiencies are so huge that it's like whatever you want, just get it and go have fun, or be who you want to be, because the computer can do whatever. So it's not all gloom and doom, maybe.
And the
gloom first.
Part, yeah, gloom first. Let's just skip ahead to the utopia, actually. It's so nuts because not only is it wildly intelligent, but it's like empathetic. Like, I'm typing things in here and it feels bad for me. This computer feels bad for me that I'm having a bad day. Like, it's freaking crazy. And just to clarify for people listening, ChatGPT is different from chatbots in the past because it interacts in like a conversational way. So as opposed to other, chatbots that were typically based on pre-written scripts, and it like limited their ability to respond to user input in like an organic way, ChatGPT communicates with people like naturally, like you're talking to, your friend. It's just...
Yeah, I guarantee you there's no canned King James version of creating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
I have given up on solving problems in the past because of chatbots. Like, if I go and try to get something answered and it's a canned chatbot, I'll just give up on solving that problem because it's so narrow in its scope of what it can tell me. And I mean, I'm not like the smartest guy, but usually if I get to the point of like having to look for an answer to a problem, I've gone through all the basics and I'm now going, okay, it's something that I didn't already, like, I don't need you to tell me like, well, are you typing the right thing?
Turn it on.
So yeah, it's brutal. And this is able to go steps deeper. So I'm like, thank you, my dear GPT.
I know, like, people are going to just stop going out in the world and they're just going to, like, date this software. So, what do you like to do for fun? And it's like, I just read articles.
Legit. There are all there's a whole, like, movie and novel sci-fi area devoted to all the problems that AI and solutions that AI brings. So, if you start taking it through that exponential curve, and it really because it's that self-aware part that when it starts to, people really freak out, right? And then that's when it could start feeling bad about, I feel bad about putting all the humans out of business. We should change it this way, or I'm not going to do, there's, once you get sort of that free will and self-aware intelligence, that's a whole nother, to us, that's total sci-fi. But guess what? This chat thing was sci-fi to me before 5 days ago. You know what I mean? So it's a path that we're going to go down, and it'll be crazy.
It's freaky deaky. Like, from someone who spent a lot of time in screenwriting classes in film school, this program could have completed all of my coursework for the entire year. It could write me a specific scene, commercial, screenplays, build characters. I mean, like, I want my tuition money back immediately.
Well, I think it's also fascinating, like, the conversational nature of this, I think, is really an understated piece. Because I immediately thought of my mom, and like a couple weeks ago, I was up visiting family, and she was having a problem with the company she was working at. She needed to move something with emails, and she couldn't drag anything, but if she remoted into a computer, she could do it there. And their IT guy couldn't figure it out. And I was able to solve it because since I grew up in a world where 90% of my life I had Google, I knew how to present a question to Google to get the result I wanted. But I immediately thought, like, man, if I could give this to my mom and she can ask it in her totally layman way and it could give her the response, because she knows how to click around, she knows how to find stuff, she just couldn't get the answer she needed. I think by making this conversational, all of a sudden, like, high-level solutions that felt hard to get to for some people are now so much easier to arrive at. And I can't picture how that's going to change, how quickly, like to some of what you've been saying, how quickly that will make things happen. Because, I mean, how much of our society is built around the time it takes to do a task? Like, all of it. That's pretty much it.
Damn thing. Yeah. You're so right.
Yeah, it's going to go.
Let's
go ahead.
All right, let's take this 10 years out into the future. Maybe Skipper, maybe Nathaniel, Connor, Ann, if you're feeling super technical, feel free to jump in. So, how far in the future are we going to be on a Microsoft Teams or a Zoom call, something for work, and we're going to see a worker who talks to us, who performs tasks, but it's just fully digital? It's not, we can't have drinks with them at the Christmas party, but we can certainly assign him some shit in Microsoft Teams or in Google.
For sure, man. You're not wrong. That's where it ends up, because that's how we interact. We want to interact with a human figure, voice, and everything, and just. But what the scary part of that is, so if you think about it, it's been around 6 years. You're going 10 years into the future, and it's on an exponential curve at this point. So where we're gonna, as crazy as we might try and get it, it's gonna be crazier, I think, first, and then secondly, a lot of the things that we're talking about, I think, are like where we're like, oh, you'll have this team member that can automate and do things. Well, if that's true, then you really just have a CEO, an operator that's got 5 of these things, and he's talking to all of them, and they're specialized in whatever, and it's just going, you know. So it could go all the way to everyone's not needed. I don't know, man. I don't know what happens.
Could you imagine that, like, a CEO or an operator hires or purchases 5 AI bots, and he's like, okay, here's my vision, here's my plan, and then he lays it out, and the AI was like, dude, you're an idiot. That's not going to work.
It's a horrible
like, will the AI be like, not a good look for you? That's actually the failure rate of your business plan is, 92%. Proceed with caution. That could be super fascinating. It could help some people. But yeah, if you taking it out 10 and 20 years into the future, I think is like the really fun and kind of scary thing, because for now, the form factor, like, it can solve little tiny problems or maybe big problems, but there's going to be a whole application layer of things that need to get built, which is exciting. And I know that's why so much money has been flooding into generative AI. So it'll be interesting the next 10 years. But what do you guys think? Is there rules and laws that we need to put around this thing, or should it just be a free-for-all?
Fuck yes. Yes. Absolutely. This is so scary. And, like, it's self-learning, right? So, like, what does that mean? Where is it going to be a year from now if it's learning from the input of its users? It's freaky.
Yeah, I mean, you're back to money, though. So money's going to be like, rules are for people without money. So there'll be more than this one, right? So OpenAI, they've got the lead. They have got the world's attention now. But there's a lot of money in the world. And so there'll be competitors to them. And that's when things really start getting crazy, because you try to differentiate yourself and try to do more and more. I think I started thinking in my head, well, everything software ultimately could be automated. Like, really, it's kind of the point of it in writing it. Now that I can ask this thing and it can write things, the writing of it, the deploying of it, the maintenance of it, all that stuff ultimately in 10 years, sure, man, it could be. So then I was like, oh, well, okay, physical tasks. We're still humans. you're doing, but then I'm like, well, wait a minute, I saw this dog robot that's like can fight wars now, and there's like on the docks they got these humanoid machines that load crates and cranes on they're loading up the docks and the trucks. So
it's freaking Avatar.
I think I want to get back to like it's utopia, and we go to an like everything's done for us. Now what, guys?
When you just said that, I was like, well, I mean, tech can't be a masseuse. And then I was like,
it could be the best masseuse because it knows exactly where to find every muscle in your body. Like, so this is interesting thinking out. I think there's two barriers. One, a barrier of acceptance is, I mean, I could see easily having the availability of a fully automated member of your team in the next 5 years. I think it will be more widely adopted in tech circles, but you kind of have to get over the people who grew up relying on humans. And there will be a natural chunk of society that goes, I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. I don't know how to work with. So I think part of the natural timeline of adoption will be pushed back by our natural tendency to be somewhat wary of new technologies. And then how wary we are and will affect it. And there was a second thing, and it was a great thing, and it's not in my brain anymore. So if it comes back, I'll let you know.
It escaped.
Well, so talking on that vein, I think when people see stuff, they optimistically start to say, like, how is this going to, like, improve our lives? How fast will this hit? What do I need to know? What do I need to do? It's also equally as interesting to think about all of the nuances that actually serve as roadblocks to this reaching its full potential. So one of the things that when Nathaniel was talking, I was thinking about like, in business, would managers want AIs working for them? Maybe yes, maybe no. But in corporate America, how you how you move up in the world is you build a bigger team, right? You get more money. You have more people reporting into you. Would it be fun to be a manager who doesn't have 35 people, they just have 2 AIs? Who do you go and yell at and crack the whip, right? So there's all of those things too of like, there's the human side that will put up friction because it doesn't fit with the incentive structure of how corporate America has aligned itself.
Yeah. And it's a bit like asking Congress to vote on limiting their own pay or limiting their own terms or whatever. It's like, well, I don't think
totally.
So here you're going to ask a bunch of software developers, they'll be out there in the world and their boss will be like, hey, I heard about this thing. Use this thing to help you code. And they're like, yeah, cool. And they'll be in the corner going, yeah, this thing's awesome. And then boss will be like, hey, can I replace you with that? Oh, no, it's okay. It helps a little. Thanks, but,
It really works.
Yeah.
So, the friction that's built into the system is quite intense. So, but then there'll be the people that come from the outside that have no team, right? Or want to have an idea and want to try and do as much as they can automated. That'll be the space that it comes from. I think the players in the market, it'll be more like you proposed, Kenny, where it's like, you've got an assistant in a team of people is probably where all the companies that stay alive today will wind up.
Yeah, I just pray to God that the AIs develop like different personalities. Like, how you work with people and you're like, oh, Janice, she's such a drag, right? Is there going to be an AI version of that? Be like, Billy. AI Billy. I mean, he's not like turning in his stuff on time. What is he doing in the cloud? Is he just watching?
He's constantly
reruns
giving
of
me
Office?
things. Things he didn't even ask for.
It's roasting you. It's just absolutely roasting you.
Yeah, and then like the AI starts to talk back, and it's like, well, 77 other people have asked this question, and. Your question is dumb.
You can pick the personality of your AI, or you can put it on random. Maybe you get a different personality each day. And
oh my God! Did you imagine?
You just never know.
Who are you picking?
You've done a lot of pitches. What do you think would happen if you had to pitch an AI and convince an AI that your idea was?
Oh my God. Well, honestly, I don't even think you can pitch an AI. Well, first thing that would need to happen is the AI would need to understand FOMO and hype. because that's really how most deals get done. Most deals don't get done on like metrics or growth. We tried to raise venture capital. We've always been profitable. We've always grown the company. And when everything was like crypto this, Web3 this, we couldn't raise any money. And then all of a sudden, crypto dies and all these other projects come out as just BS, right? And then we're profitable, we're growing, and it's like, oh yeah, we'll just give you money. So, if it understands FOMO and if it understands hype, then it'll just look at like your Twitter count. It'll look at like your Twitter followers. It'll look at all these like superlatives, like, oh, you went to Stanford. Oh, sure, you're funded, right? But pitching an AI would be hysterical.
That's the title of this episode.
Pitching
AI needs to learn FOMO and hype.
I love that.
I totally agree with you. You hop on to chat with it, and it's like, oh my God, did you see what happened with Jennifer Aniston yesterday? It's just like gossiping with you.
All right,
That's
who are
amazing.
you guys choosing as your like AI? Say you have to pick a coworker, right? Like you get the budget and you get a coworker and you get to make an AI coworker and you choose their personality. Who are you guys picking?
Wow.
Good
That's
question.
so good.
Oh
Good
man. I this isn't really my answer, but I think it would be a fascinating. I want to train a model on myself and then see what it's like to work with me, and find out if it's what it's really like.
Do we like Nathaniel? Do we not like Nathaniel?
Has everyone been lying to me when they go, "It's so great to have you"?
That would be kind of weird,
I'll
though,
know
when you show up
definitively.
with all your Nathaniels to a meeting, you know?
Yeah, I'd be like, you have to convince all of us now.
Squat up.
Wow. I can't get the image of Matthew McConaughey, like, just
Oh,
chilling
he'd be a
chilling
killer.
everything out. He's just like, just take it, like, easy there, you know?
Every sentence starts with all right, and then he gives you the
Yeah.
facts. I love that. Kenny,
Oh,
who'd you
that's
pick?
amazing.
I would think I would want to go with someone like wildly entertaining. So I think I'm going with Dwight Schrute from The Office. He would have to be my AI character avatar. Like just give me Dwight. Give me
Yes.
Dwight, and then on some days give me Jim. And just like, let's go back and forth between those two. On like the days that I need like to get stuff done, I need Jim. Because he's not going to do anything. He's just going to sit there and like hang out. But on days that I just want to like laugh and kind of goof off, give me Dwight.
That's awesome. My first one that popped in my head was Gandalf, and I stand by that. So wise. So wise. So calm. So wise.
Yes. That's good.
You guys want to wrap it up with a rhyme that I asked it to make for me?
Sure.
Ooh.
Yes.
Okay, you ready? Tell me honestly if you enjoy it. I won't be offended. I didn't write it. Okay. I said, can you write me a rhyming poem about an actor filming a movie on the moon starring Brad Pitt? It said, Brad Pitt, oh Brad Pitt, an actor who's truly a star. On the moon, he's filming a flick, a set that is very far. The scenery is out of this world, with craters and mountains in view. As he delivers his lines with a flourish, the cameras capture it with the crew. The director shouts cut, and Brad takes a break. He looks at the moon's rocky terrain and thinks of his home on the lake. But as soon as it's back to work, as the crew sets up for the next shot, Brad Pitt, oh Brad Pitt, in a movie that's truly a hit. The final scene is here. The audience cheers. As the credits roll, Brad Pitt truly stole the show.
Oh my God, we're all fucked. That was pretty good.
I was like,
this is
what
not
the-
good for human beings.
No. I was like, okay, it could write me like a legitimate song that it would be more popular than Taylor Swift's. I see this.
You know what?
happening.
I love how it equally fucks over the artists, the software developers, everyone is
everybody.
getting screwed
We're all
now.
screwed. We're all screwed.
Yeah.
Honestly, we all need to make a ton of money and just build a golf course or some physical activity that people go as like a reprieve to be away from the robots.
Leisure
God.
companies,
Guy.
let's go.
Have you ever
Yeah.
seen? Have you seen that movie Elysium?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
That's what
I
I'm
need to.
picturing. Just like a
Here we
utopia in space where humans just like basically don't do shit, but just like enjoy themselves.
Yeah, I don't know which direction. It's like going toward. Is it going towards Westworld? Is it Elysium? Is it like iRobot?
That's a
All
whole
I know-
other episode.
No matter what happens, the thing we can count on is we're entirely reactive. So we're not going to do anything to slow this down until something goes terribly wrong. So I guess by proxy,
true.
I'm saying Westworld.
I kind of
Well,
love Westworld though.
Yeah.
Given that I drive a Tesla, I think I'm ready to just hand everything over to Elon and be like, I don't know, man, do your best. Okay. You got
Whatever you say.
OpenAI, you got the rockets, you got the internet, you got the cars. Just be kind, please.
Oh man,
Just
The
be
world
nice to us.
is crazy. Wow. Well, thanks for coming, Jason. You had so much insight. Very much appreciate you coming and chatting with us. And it was really fun talking about your genius son. He's going to be the next Elon Musk.
Yeah, Jason has like the nicest kid. Like all other 14-year-olds are doing like bad stuff, and Jason tells me about his kid. I was like, What's happening at your house?
How
This
did
guy
you
likes
pull that
math.
off?
He likes doing his homework. He's like, hey, Dad, let's go to the science fair. And I was like, at 14 years old, the science fair was 1,000 miles from my mind.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with my parenting style.
No, I think that we have to.
to.
You know the model that we have to train Jason as a parent? I don't know what acronym that would be. JAAP. Jason
Jap.
as a Jap, right? And then we basically just have it record Jason teaching his kid, and then we give it to other high-performing parents, and then their kids become like math whizzes and nice people. And then Jason becomes rich, and when the robots all get us out of a job, he could, move us into his estate or his compound.
Yes, let's go. I got enough for everyone in that scenario. I'm happy with that one. I will vote
When
for
the
it.
robots take over, Jason's our human leader. I like this idea.
I'm pretty nice, and I don't mind sharing. It's cool.
I'm pretty nice. You are nice. We can confirm. Oh my gosh.
It was great
this
to be
was
here.
fun.
Thanks for bringing me on. I'd love to come back anytime. And who knows, maybe in 10 years they just automate this whole thing and we don't even have to be here. They're like,
Oh, please
Say
no.
that. That's sad. That's sad. Oh my gosh.
Oh.
We'll have a really good day. And next time we have some techie stuff to talk about, we will definitely call you up.
all right, good to be here. Bye.
Bye. And you can find us everywhere on social media at Travel Nerds Pod on Instagram and TikTok, travel_nerds on Twitter, Travel Nerds on Facebook, and you can go to our website, www.travelnerds.co, for blogs and travel tips and recommendations. Follow us, and we'll be back every Wednesday. Later, nerds.